Welcome to the final installment of my truck alterations. Today I'm cutting up the old Y-pipe assembly and refitting it to work with the new header system. Right now I'm installing the header collectors just so I can kind of get a feel for how much is going to need to be trimmed and get a fitment of the actual Y-pipe, see if I'm going to need to split the two halves or not, which I do. And now I'm laying out the first trim line. I'm just going to keep nibbling at this pipe until it's where it needs to be, because it's kind of hard to fit it up with it all in the hole like it is. Anyway, but we're going to trim this one, and I'm going to separate the driver's side extension off of the passenger side piece, and then I'm going to probably hurt myself here in a minute when I break this apart, but not too bad though. So we're moving on. We're trimming off the stub off of these collectors, so that way I have a little bit more room to work with underneath the hood. And now after my first fitment, I'm trimming up the driver's side section. I'm also taking the time to clean up this pipe, get it ready to be welded back on, because there's nothing like having to do all your fit work and then have reference marks and then grind them off to make it weld good. And here I'm adding a little short extension pipe, same 2.5 inch that the down pipes are. So then we'll little fine tuning of the pipe, we'll get it all locked together. I'm also going to take my burr motor and clean up the inside of these pipes, so that way I don't have any issues with sharp edges to cause restriction. I ended up needing to trim down both collectors a little bit more, just so I can make the transition work and have as little sharp corners on the inside as possible. Up next, I'm going to fix an issue that the original owners had done when they'd welded this cross pipe together. They'd basically just torched a hole and then welded it up, but there's a very pronounced lip. It's almost a 1/4 inch on the inside of this pipe all the way around. So I'm going to make a transition piece that will allow the gas to flow back towards the muffler a lot less impeded once it gets into this spot here. I'm also going to take my burr motor and remove that lip on the inside so it's nice and smooth. Now, I didn't get the little patch piece to fit perfectly, but so what I'm doing is I'm just tacking it in place and then hammering it over till it lines up a little bit better, tacking a little bit more, and repeating that process till the piece is nice and solid in there. And again, I'm going to take the burr motor and clean up everything when I'm done there. Alright, so now here we go. We're getting close to the final fitment. We're going to put the modified head or collector, and we're lining it up with the other piece as well. So here's my first real tack, and we're going to just keep fine tweaking everything till it lines up where there's no real stress on the pipe or the welds, and just keep sticking it together. So this one ended up needing to be broke back apart, so that's why you only tack these together as you're going. So shifted the pipe, moved it a little bit. Now we're going to tack this again. And that's pretty much where it ended up being for the final product. I didn't have to break it apart afterwards. Off camera, I ran a couple bigger tacks, and here I'm just going to kind of build up where I need to make this transition. I'm kind of letting it cool in between the weld cycles, so that way then it can do its contracting as I'm working, which will minimize the amount of distortion in the end. Ideally, you're going to want to have the pipe where it has less than an 1/8 inch gap at all the connection points. Unfortunately, I really didn't have the right materials on hand to do a proper fitment job of it. So I really should have replaced all this piping and whatnot. And again, just continuing the tack it a little bit, hammer it over so it fits a little bit tighter. You know, make sure the two pipes are aligned really nicely. Especially when everything's warm, it's pretty easy to shift things around so you get a better overall alignment. Alright, and the last piece of pipe that I'm going to need to fit on there is the little short extension piece that I had chopped off. I plan to do my final weld out in a really nice open spot so that I could get all the way around. Because like this pipe, when it was welded in by the previous owner, it had a gap about 1 inch long on the top of the pipe where they completely missed it. I'd rather not do that. And here I am just dressing my welds because OCD reasons, and just make everything a little smoother, a little nicer. And now taking again the burr motor to remove any of the sharp edges of the transitions from the collectors there. You know, this is not the most ideal setup, but it's a lot better than it was before with the broken manifolds and, you know, janky pipe. And the very last weld before this is final fitted underneath the truck, and I'll pretty straightforward, just everything bolted right in, and I just had to do the one weld. It was pretty of an awkward spot, so I didn't bother filming it. But yeah, kind of more of the same, just lots of tacking and moving.